Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So here we have it, guys, directly from Ripple, welcoming two new ODL partners, Lemonway as our first ODL partner in France, and XBot as our first partner in Sweden. So guys, ODL is expanding in France and Sweden. This is breaking news as of a few hours ago. Together, we're making it easier for customers and businesses in these regions to make real-time payments around the world. And you would think, right, with this kind of news, we would see XRP price rally. Well, guess again, XRP price is moving downward right now. It's trading at 48.3. I've got XRP here on the daily, and as you guys can see over the last couple of days, we have seen some downward momentum for XRP. So we couldn't really maintain that upward momentum. Nevertheless, here, let me throw it on the 4-hour here to give you guys a better look at this. Nevertheless, we are still seeing higher lows, which is, well, this low's a little lower. It did wick down a little, but ultimately matching that same low. Higher lows are still being formed ultimately. We can see that here on the chart. And again, the 4-hour time frame, we are going to see these pullbacks every now and then. I also have a feeling that, we are moving commensurate to the rest of the market now. XRP moving in sync with Bitcoin at this moment in time. Bitcoin's trading at around $19,100. So Bitcoin still, by and large, trading sideways. Here's Bitcoin on the daily. You guys can see it really hasn't broken out of this pattern yet. But I find it interesting. It's almost like it's an inverse XRP indicator. As soon as there's good news, we see price move down. And then when there's apparently no news at all, we see XRP price move up like we did throughout the majority of September and the beginning of October. So an interesting phenomenon here. Everybody's talking about the inverse Kramer indicator. I think we should make one up for the inverse XRP positive news indicator. Also, just kind of proving the point that the efforts of Ripple are not actually moving the price of XRP. Let me continue, though, with this story. Matthew Lany bringing us this article from CryptoGlobe.com. So a couple of new ODL corridor customers here, guys, namely in France and Sweden. On Tuesday, October the 11th, Ripple announced that it has formed a strategic partnership with Paris-headquartered payment provider Lemonway, which will use Ripple's XRP-powered solution on-demand liquidity to enhance its treasury payment processes. Lemonway is a pan-European payment institution dedicated to marketplaces, alternative finance platforms, and other companies looking for payment processing, wallet management, and third-party payments in a KYC-AML regulated framework. It is a payment solution that is trusted by over 1,400 marketplaces in Europe, including 200 crowdfunding platforms. So a fairly big payment provider, Lemonway, which was founded in 2007, obtained an ACPR payment institution license and European passport in 2012. It has offices in Paris, London, Madrid, Milano, and Hamburg. CB Insights named Lemonway in its 250 fintech list of the fastest growing fintech startups and among 28 most promising fintech companies in payment processing and networks at a global level. And so Ripple's press release, guys, and if you want to check that out, it is hyperlinked here in this article, went on to say that this partnership with Lemonway comes at a time when France has been showing itself to be forward-thinking when it comes to embracing the potential of crypto technology, and that this partnership will enable Lemonway to drive operational efficiencies by eliminating the need for Lemonway to pre-fund accounts abroad, giving them the opportunity to use previously trapped pre-funded capital to grow and scale their business. So boom, we've got Lemonway coming out of France, but that's not all the good news. Apparently, the California fintech also signed its first ODL customer in Sweden, XBot, which specializes in payments between Sweden and Thailand. This partnership will allow XBot to provide instant and cost-effective retail remittances via ODL, supported by Tranglo, the cross-border payment hub based in Singapore. And so Cindy Young commented on that particular partnership. She said, "We are delighted to be working with Lemonway and XBot, our first ODL customers in France and Sweden, respectively. Since our inception 10 years ago, Ripple has focused on using blockchain and crypto to build real-world use cases. This is why we have become the partner of choice for enterprises such as Lemonway and XBot looking to tap into global crypto liquidity, guys, to eliminate the traditional problems associated with cross-border payments, such as lack of speed, unreliability, and excessive costs." So all things that Ripple has been striving to remedy since day one, and they have really been knocking it out of the park. So huge news, 2 new ODL customers in Europe, namely Sweden and France, using ODL technology. And I think somebody over there on Twitter was saying, I don't have the tweet up, but they were saying that ODL has been growing, I think, 8 or 9 times year over year. And this year, it's going to be spectacular. I think 40 billion in ODL payments. I think that was the projection. Don't quote me on that, but I think that was the projection. Anyway, going to keep moving along here, guys. T-Hole Benedict XRP posting this. So Ripple partner PayAngel is now partnering with the United National Capital Development Fund. So they joined forces with the UNCDF to scale up their flagship direct-to-merchant remittances, or D2MR solution. The partnership, funded by the European Union's Boosting Green Employment and Enterprise Opportunities in Ghana, that project seeks to scale up diaspora investment in the Ashanti and Western regions through direct remittances to merchants in the financial services, education, and health sectors. This will make it easier for merchants, including returning migrant businesses of all sizes and industries, to easily collect payments and transfers and allocate them appropriately. The goal of this project is in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals on remittances, which PayAngel Group is committed to. So it sounds as though this company here, PayAngel, looking to integrate with the United National Capital Development Fund, and there is a connection there to Ghana, so an African country, connecting with what is looking like the European Union to boost that green initiative that we've been hearing so much about. So some interesting news there. Wanted to thank T-Hole Benedict XRP for posting that. Also, just the supporting material here, just to give you guys a sense. PayAngel, Africa's payment expert, and you look down here, one of their partners, Ripple. So there's the connection there with regards to that, and I will link this tweet thread in the description if you want to read further. All this development globally. Meanwhile, Ripple has been asking for clarity for the last decade, roughly a decade. Stefan Hubert posted this, found this decade-old letter from Ripple asking for regulatory clarity now, and it was from December of 2014, so 8 years ago. And, in this letter, they were even asking for clarity way back then. Ripple Labs appreciates HM Treasury's collaborative approach to exploring digital currencies and look forward to future discussions. As this important topic evolves within and beyond the UK, Ripple Labs would welcome further engagement with UK regulators, especially for cross-border transactions. In the short term, the government can support constructive innovation in this area by clarifying how existing rules and frameworks apply to virtual currency businesses. And then it continues over here. I'm just reading some of the highlighted parts that Stefan highlighted. We believe an effective regulatory framework can provide a foundation for fostering innovation. The goal is to provide clarity without stifling the promise for these technologies. Instead, smart regulations can level the playing field, legitimize a burgeoning industry, and empower entrepreneurs. And this was actually addressed to the Treasury in the UK, and Ripple eventually did get that clarity in the United Kingdom. So why is it taking the United States so long? Red Special down here even supporting this statement. Back in 2020, I spent 1 hour on the phone with HM Revenue and Customs clarifying the use and taxation of XRP specifically. On a phone conversation with them, I was directed to download the UK government policy with regards to crypto. It's all in writing, no ambiguity here. So saying straight up that, the UK does have a clear framework that they can point their citizens to, even regarding XRP. Unfortunately, we cannot say the same in the United States. Here's what we have to look forward to. Next up, Ripple XRP case dates from File in Law. This tweeted out by Hugh Breslin here on Twitter. So we've got October the 18th. Parties file all materials relating to opposition to summary judgment motions temporarily under seal. October the 20th, parties meet and confer to identity redactions that were placed in the filings. On the 24th, parties file public redacted versions of the opposition briefs. I'm just going over these briefly, guys. November the 15th, parties file summary judgment reply briefs. On the 17th, November 17th, parties meet and confer to identify redactions sought by each side of the reply briefs. On the 21st of November, parties file public redacted versions of reply briefs, making only those provisional redactions requested by parties during the meet and confer. On December the 9th, parties file omnibus motions to seal all materials relating to the summary judgment motions, including briefs, Rule 56.1 statements and counterstatements, declarations, and supporting exhibits. Parties also file proposed redactions to such materials. And then on December 22nd, 2022, parties file oppositions to omnibus motions to seal. And just down here, James K. Fineland also added this in. If the SEC decides to file a motion for reconsideration of Judge Torres's ruling on the SEC's objections regarding the Hinman documents, that would be due on October the 13th, which is in 2 days. So some important dates here that we should be eyeing, considering, this lawsuit is still going on and we are in the midst of it. And it's kind of funny how Perianne Boring has changed her ways. This brought to us by Nerd Nation Unbox here on Twitter. Gotta thank Wheezy for some of these amazing clips that he's bringing to us. This was an interview, a panel from 2020. Perianne Boring, days before the announcement. Okay, so if you guys look down here, this was from November 19th, 2020. So about a month before the SEC finally decided to announce the lawsuit against Ripple and XRP. And PayAngel Boring, her stance at that time was essentially Bitcoin, Ethereum, clear to go. Meanwhile, everything else could be considered a security. Listen to this.
We're starting to see a lot more traditional actors enter this space. And from a regulatory perspective, it's that regulatory clarity that continues to be a challenge. I think we have, decent understanding of where Bitcoin and ETH sits. But for XRP on down, there is very little certainty about if these digital assets are considered a security or not. So an issue that probably Zoe can speak to and sympathize with, because we don't have regulatory certainty for all digital assets. Different institutional investors may or may not be willing to take on that risk. And that's a big issue that the Chamber of Digital Commerce has been working on for a number of years with SEC, the CFTC. This issue has gone to the courts. There's members of Congress who have introduced legislative proposals to address this. But I do believe, I'm very optimistic, and I do think this will work itself out.
So again, that was PayAngel Boring from right before the Ripple lawsuit. Now, you notice she called on Zoe Cruz. Zoe Cruz was a former board member at Ripple. But I also want to point you guys to something else, and I did a video on this. I don't know if you guys remember. It wasn't a very popular video. There was this meeting, this kind of group get-together, this team-building scenario that occurred way back several years ago when they were trying to get Ethereum off the ground. PayAngel Boring was there along with Joe Lubin and several others. I did a video on it. I don't even remember what I titled it. I'll see if I can find it, and I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner if you guys are interested in looking into that further. So we know, at least at that time, where PayAngel Boring's alliances landed. Since then, fast forward a few years, since then, I think a lot has changed. Obviously, now she is supporting the Ripple case, and I think that had a lot to do with what has transpired since this case began. There was also the Coffee lawsuit. If you guys remember, back in May of 2018, Ryan Coffee decided to sue Ripple, and he created this class action. Eventually, it was thrown out. But this was right before the speech, and Nerd Nation Unboxed brings up a good point. The Coffee lawsuit was filed in May of 2018. The Hinman speech was in June of 2018. Think about this. Hinman and the SEC used this as an excuse to leave Ripple out of the speech because they were presently being sued. By Ripple being in a lawsuit, the SEC could use the excuse, we cannot comment on pending cases. Listen to this.
Well, of course. I mean, Commissioner Clayton already said so, that all all ICOs are securities, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. Okay, so the only two that they have already confirmed that are not securities are Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is somewhere between a currency or a commodity. Ripple, as you may have heard, is in a mega class action lawsuit right now because they're disputing between am I a security or am I not a security? So of course, being in this industry, you have to follow the news almost daily, especially in cryptocurrency.
So again, a very different perspective on what was a currency, what was a commodity, what could be sued, what could not be sued. Of course, there's all the nuances. There's the gray area that has come to light since Ripple was sued back in December of 2020. And all these questions are being investigated right now. So here's just another article. Investor sues Ripple alleging XRP is a security from back in May of 2018. If you guys want some context on this, if you guys maybe weren't around at this time, just kind of giving you the outline on that particular case. Then there's the issue of Ethereum, of course, and JPMorgan owning critical Ethereum infrastructure. I really hope I can find the video that I did about this event, because I think it's all becoming more and more clear. Wheezy at Nerd Nation Unboxed posting this as well. Jamie Dimon was named CEO of JPMorgan on December 31st, 2005. Since then, JPMorgan has been fined a total of $35 billion with a B. This is who owns critical infrastructure of Ethereum. Who's being protected by the SEC? Retail investors or white-collar criminals? Very good question there. And even though Jamie Dimon has been basically calling cryptocurrency and Bitcoin crap since as early as, at least as documented as early as 2017, I don't know if you guys knew this. Another one from Wheezy. He's just on fire today. Have y'all seen this? I didn't know JPMorgan had their own app developed to trade Bitcoin. They've been in the game since 2013. Also note at the beginning here, Charles Hoskinson, what he says about Jamie Dimon and their Bitcoin trading. Now the clip is about, it's over a minute, but it's really just the beginning that I want to show you guys. Listen to this.
Do you think Jamie Dimon did what he did to get a better entry point into Bitcoin?
They're already in, man.
Is it a bullish signal? Is the question.
Do you think Jamie Dimon did what he did to get a better entry point in Bitcoin? And Charles Hoskinson saying, they're already in, man. This lady here explains how they developed an app to trade Bitcoin since 2013.
I do know for a fact that his London traders, remember he said in his statement that he would fire anybody who trades Bitcoin in his desk. I do know for a fact that somebody developed an app for JPMorgan traders specifically back in 2013 to trade Bitcoin. And I guess that some of these engineers and code writers over here would understand this better, but I believe they made it in XLS or something like that because their actual browser was being monitored by their bosses. So they were trading Bitcoin, and there was a special exception for Max Kaiser because their algorithm was trading off Bitcoin mentions on Twitter. And at that time in 2013, it wasn't a big story. Nobody really big and no media was covering it. And anytime Max would tweet about Bitcoin, the price would go berserk, and they would have to leave their trading desk at JPMorgan and go over and like shut down their app that had been developed. So I know they had a sophisticated app developed that couldn't deal with Max Kaiser.
Trading based on tweets, Max Kaiser was, at that time one of the only ones tweeting about Bitcoin. Corruption runs deep. Finally getting back to Zoe Cruz, that former board member at Ripple. Reezy at Nerd Nation Unboxed, bringing us another one. XRP was designed as an answer to the Bitcoin problem. Again, guys, this from a month before the SEC dropped that lawsuit.
So I think the technology and some of these cryptocurrencies, by the way, they have very different use cases and design. So that's why people talk about Bitcoin. It is probably a nicer expression of digital gold, if you will. But in its design, each one of them has pluses and minuses in terms of scalability of transactions. XRP, as an example, its market cap isn't as large, to state the obvious, as Bitcoin, but its design, which actually was designed by the NASA scientists that designed it, as an antidote to the Bitcoin problem, which is it can transact in nanoseconds, very high volume, low value business. That's what it was designed to do. So I think there will be different rails, different utility tokens, if you will, for different use cases.
Of course, going on about how XRP is superior to Bitcoin, but did a NASA scientist actually design Bitcoin? And is Joel Katz that NASA scientist? I don't know if you guys saw this. The BDNYC team submission selected for NASA's XRP grant. Now, at first glance, I was looking at this and kind of got a little excited, but when you read further, it doesn't sound like they're actually talking about the XRP that we've come to know and love. On top of that, from March 23rd, 2008, so this would predate cryptocurrency Stellar and Ripple, okay, from NASA's own website. Approximately 100 million years ago, a small galaxy plunged through the heart of the Cartwheel Galaxy, creating ripples of a brief star formation. Now, I could read this full thing and listen to the description of the video, but again, this has nothing to do with cryptocurrency, although an interesting coincidence here. What I think Zoe Cruz meant by that NASA comment was actually not NASA, but the National Security Agency, or the NSA. As we know, David Schwartz, or Joel Katz, was contracted by the NSA in it was either the 80s or the 90s. Also, he is the Chief Technology Officer at Ripple, as we all know. So not a NASA scientist, but rather somebody contracted by the NSA, NASA, I guess you could call it. I think understanding the context a little better gives us a little more perspective. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.